I'm here at the National Waterways Museum in Ellesmere Port, and I'm going to go and look at two boats now that have just recently been restored. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Yeah, you get about, don't you?
Yeah, well, yeah. There's a lot going on here.
I just noticed when I was coming across here that you've got a lot of boats on the site. How many have you got in total?
So on this site alone, we've got 17 historic boats that are accessioned into the Canal River Trust's collection, as well as 5 boats inside, out of the water, and then across the Trust's 2 other museums. It all adds up to 25 floating exhibits.
So there's quite a few then. This particular boat here, what's the story with this one?
So this is Bake Up, a Leeds Liverpool short boat. It's been here a long time. They need regular conservation anyway. We have a programme of preventive conservation for all the boats that just keeps them afloat. Up to about a year ago, the paintwork was looking really bad on this, and then that can start to affect things like rust, and then you're starting to worry about boats sinking. So we started a project in-house that would research the colours to find the appropriate colour scheme and repaint it, and in the process conserve it as well.
So would you lift this boat out to work on it, or do you do it in the water?
On this site we don't have the facilities. It can be very difficult logistically, so we didn't take this out the water, but we did all the work in-house just on the side here. There needs to be a programme of taking the boats out of the water to check below the waterline. We're fairly confident that the hull below the waterline is okay.
So have you not thought of skinny dipping to check the bottom on it?
I don't know about you, I don't fancy jumping in there anytime soon.
I can't swim, so I'm fine.
It's only about 3 foot deep,
oh,
so...
yeah, how deep's the mud though?
Yeah, well, yeah, good question.
So apart from this one, is there any other boats that you've been working on?
Yeah, so there's another boat called Mendip, which is just down the way there, which we've recently undergone quite an extensive bit of remedial conservation, which we had to send off site. So there's quite an interesting contrast between the way the two processes have worked. So with Bake Up, we put in a lot of research into what British Waterways, when it was working for British Waterways, what those colours would have been, and tried to match them very particularly based on, they wouldn't have necessarily used RAL numbers that far back, but that kind of thing. We had a volunteer who did some amazing work around that, and that's how we landed on these colours. Mendip, we took a different approach, partly because we had to send it off site because there was a big fungal attack on the timbers on the cabin. Really talented historic canal boat builder, did a lot of brilliant work on that. Found some new original timbers that we didn't realise were still in there. They've been saved. And then the paint job we did on that, we chose to take it back to a very specific picture from, I believe it was the 1950s or early 60s. Same British Waterways livery, so blue and yellow, but different tones in the colours. Because in reality, historically, any working boat would have gone into a yard for a repaint. They wouldn't have had time to find the very specific British Waterways blue and British Waterways yellow. They just slap any blue and yellow they had around.
I suppose they were working boats, so they didn't want these out of the water, really, as long as they're necessary.
Exactly. Turning it around as quickly as possible. So Mendip, that was working the chocolate trade. So that had to be constantly up and down the Shropshire Union Canal, getting cocoa nib down to Bourneville, and then bringing chocolate back up this way.
The other boat similar to this, whereabouts is it?
It's just behind me down there.
I'll go and have a look at that boat on the way past then. Thanks for your time again. Cheers.
Pleasure.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
What a wonderful place this is, and it wouldn't be the same without the volunteers. This whole place relies on its volunteers, and what a lot of people don't realise is that the Canal and River Trust is a charity. Now, I don't know about you, but I will certainly be coming back.